What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to take you through 8 tips to improve your putting in disc golf. Let's get to it. So a couple of weeks ago, I put this video on my Instagram stories and asked for some help because my putting to start off this year has been absolutely trash. So I asked for some help to see if you guys could help me improve my putting. And so what we're going to go through are 6 tips that people sent through to me to help me try and fix my putt. And at the end, I'm going to go through 2, maybe 3 tips that I have been implementing myself over the last couple of weeks that have made a huge difference to my putting. So make sure you stick around for those. So the first tip that people shared to me is something that I had noticed myself as well, and it is that I putt nose down. So Teal GT350.dg said, just based off the video, more nose up is what's required, and he said that that is something that he struggles with on the course as well. And similarly, Jack Sophonius, he said, hello, you putt nose down instead of slightly up or neutral, and so my miss is always going to be low. Now, there weren't specifically any tips that were given for this, but that was kind of the problem in my putt that people saw. So I've got 5 putters here, and I'm just going to try and putt more nose up and see if that gives me more chance, because what's been happening, as you guys can see from that video before, is that it's so nose down and it has no chance of even going in the basket. So here we're just going to try and actually focus on getting my wrist and the disc actually pointed more nose up to try and exaggerate that. I'm just going to try and focus on that one tip now, that's all, and see if that can help me make more putts. I'm about 25 feet away from the basket, so see how we go. So nose up. So far so good. Okay, nose up. Oh, it was high, a little high. Nose up. Okay, didn't quite have the revs on it, but the nose was up. Nose up. Oh, boom. Nose up. And banned. So only one of those missed, more than one of those missed, only one of those was low. And so that actually felt kind of good. I was like exaggerating my wrist up, disc up, and they all seem to be getting, most of them were chain high. So that did's pretty good. If you have any other specific tips for helping to get the nose up, other than just changing the wrist angle, please let me know, because I'd be curious to find out, because I feel like those putts just then felt so much better than what my putts all season have felt. So maybe I'll just try and focus on that. We'll see, but maybe that tip will help you. And I'm hoping in this video that even just one of these things might help you to improve your putting. We're on to the second piece of advice now. Make sure you stay again through to the end, because I'll be sharing 2 tips that have really helped me with my putting, and they're really simple and I think can help you as well. All right, the next piece of advice is from D_Rock856, Derek Scull from Gatekeeper Media. So shout out to him for giving me some advice. His is more about my stance. So he said to turn my right foot, my front foot, to the right a little bit to open up my frame. So I'm kind of almost more square to the basket, and to move my left foot back and left a little bit. So I was quite kind of side on almost, not side on, but angled to the basket. So he's saying actually open the basket, open my frame up a bit more, face the basket. So then I'm pointing there. And I've seen different advice. Some people say that it's good to be slightly side on, because then when you follow through, your shoulders going to be straight at the basket. Whereas if you're straighter and you follow through straight, it's going to be to the right. But I'm willing to try anything. So Derek, I'm going to give this a go, and we're going to see how it works. All right, let's see if I can figure this out. So I think in the video I was standing something like this, going like that. So we're going to try and turn the right foot more towards the basket. Really just trying to get my frame to face the basket. And then we go left foot, back, and left a little bit. Okay, it feels like a very wide stance for me, but we're just going to try and face the basket more and see how many out of 5 we can make. So I'm going to forget the nose up stuff. I'm just going to go back to just focusing on the stance and see if that helps. Okay. It was high, banned, yeah, that's all right. I feel like it's very wide. Maybe I'm doing it too wide, and there's probably more nuance to it, but 3 more. That felt good. Oh, gee. That's all right. That's actually, I wasn't trying to do that. But that's the miss, is going right, so we'll see. Face the basket. Snuck in over the rim, so That one feels a little bit interesting, doesn't feel super comfortable, some were good, but then there was that one that I shanked to the right, which I did predict would happen. So maybe it was just a self-fulfilling prophecy, but opening up the stance, facing the basket, some people like that where they feel like they can face the basket more, and that's going to help them to get it in. So maybe you can try that yourself. I might have to play around with that one a little bit more, but on to the next. All right, so Derek's actually been really helpful, and the third piece of advice is from him as well. And he said, once I've got my foot position changed, then try to add a bit more power and force to my putt. And then in addition to that, to follow through with my back leg, my left leg kicking up behind me to sort of anticipate that increase in power and to stabilize me. So add more power and kick that leg up. And the back leg is something that I've just naturally done as well. Obviously I started and I was watching Paul Macbeth, and so he's doing that leg thing, and so I do it, and sometimes it just becomes more of like a, you know, like, how you going, like a little kick up at the back. But Derek's kind of saying that it's more to help stabilize you. So make sure that I'm giving it more power, and then in doing so, have that leg up behind me to kind of stabilize and counter the extra power. So let's see how it goes. He also gave credit to Nick Hansen for these tips, who is another member of Gatekeeper Media and a very good professional American disc golfer. So there's stuff that he learned from Nick, from his putting, and has passed on to me. So hopefully then it can help you as well. Power. Power though. I don't know if you guys could hear me from back there, but every time I was putting I was saying power, power, and I was putting with power, and then the leg was just naturally kicking up at the back as well. And 3 out of 5 made it, the other 2 were high chains right side. So Derek, Nick, that could be really helpful. I appreciate it. So the next tip was from Austin Teal once again. So he provided a couple of tips for me, which I'm very appreciative of. And he said, very simply, putt through the basket. So to pick chains on the back side of the basket and aim to get the disc to them. And I guess hey, cockatoo. That wants to be part of the video. I guess the thought behind that is that if you're aiming to the back of the basket, then you should at least get to the basket. I apologize for the nature sounds, and unfortunately my mic has died. So I'll get that charged up for the next video, but we're gonna try 5 putts trying to putt through the basket, picking a chain link on the far side of the basket and trying to hit those. The back of the basket. Very nice. Okay, just in, still, back of the basket. I'm only just making these over. I'm focusing on it, but I may got to putt with a bit more power, like the previous tip. Okay, that last one was really good, and I finally kind of got the power on it. But that actually, I find that really helpful, and maybe you guys can try that as well, putting to the back of the basket, because then I really actually quite like that tip, Austin. I'm gonna have to play around with that in my putting practice, but I think it's actually quite helpful. Now we've got kookaburras joining in on the action, guys. We've got all sorts of nature sounds for you today. Let's get on to tip number 5. This next tip comes from Nathan, and he said that my follow through is the issue, which I can totally agree with him on that. And he said when he has this issue, he thinks back to this video from Scott Stokely, which is basically telling you to finish with your hand pointing straight at the basket. And you often hear when you're getting into disc golf, and I tell people this, is to finish giving the basket a handshake. So finish with my hand straight at the basket is what I'm going to try and focus on in these next 5 putts. I like the thought of that tip, but you just saw then I kind of was thinking about that, and I probably didn't do it quite justice, but the problem then came to the nose angle and it was hitting the cage. So I think I was still following through pretty straight. You guys can maybe tell me if I wasn't. The video might show otherwise, but I think the nose angle might be the real trick that I have to fix, and the power that I put on the putts, not just my release point, but we'll see. It's time now to get on to the final tip that was sent in by you guys, but then I'll finish off with 3 tips that have been game-changing for me in the last 2 weeks. Stay tuned. All right, the final follower suggested tip is from Thomas_Charlie01, and he said, put it in the basket. Wow. I never thought that before. Maybe that has been my problem all along. Let's give it a shot. Just gonna really now just try and focus on putting it in the basket. Seems simple, seems obvious. Maybe that'll be helpful. All right, just gonna focus on nothing else but just putting it in the basket. Not quite. You gotta be joking. This is too funny. All right. I don't know. I like the simplicity of your advice, Thomas, Charlie, but I think I need something a little bit more specific than just to put it in the basket. But in theory, great tip. Maybe simplifying that will work for some of you out there. I just want to give a shout out to Disc Dot, a putting aid that can help you improve your putting. I've spoken about them in a video previously, but basically that's a little device that you can put on a chain link, and it basically helps you to focus on a chain link while you practice putt, so that you're not just aiming for a general area, aiming for a specific area. You can focus, putt, and repeat. That's their slogan. I've included my affiliate link in the description if you'd like to grab one of those Disc Dots for yourself. It also helps support me. And if you're enjoying the video, please give it a like. And if you would like to see more content like this, make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss any new videos that come out. But now, the tips that you have all been waiting for. These tips are gonna sound super simple and super basic, but they have been key in my practice putting recently and have made me feel so much more confident. And if you see some of my photos and videos, I was kind of biting my lip like this when I was putting. And I realized that was actually making me feel a bit more tense. And so I found that if I just relax my face nice and calm, then that helped me to have a nice smooth putt, and I wasn't so tense, like I have to make this. It was just nice and relaxed. So that's actually something that I've been focusing on, and it helps my swing to be so much more smooth. So maybe if you're finding yourself not tense when you're putting, it could just be face things. That's been really, really helpful for me, and I'm gonna show you some putts in a second where I put all these things in my practice. Another really simple tip, which some people say that it should be done one way or the other, but I found that I had been, with my grip, I'd been kind of, rather than having my finger on the rim, I was just listening to some advice from Robbie C. I think Trevor had been applying that advice as well from Foundation. And rather than having it on the rim, I was just kind of curling it around like that. And I found that that was giving me some nice spin when I was practicing like this, and I was naturally just holding it like that. So I'd been going to that with my putts. What I found was that wasn't working, obviously. And so I've changed to have my finger on the rim. And while sometimes that can feel a little bit weird, I actually find that for some reason it helps get better spin on it. And also the big thing that's actually been helping with is getting that nose up. So for whatever reason, having my finger on the rim like that helped me to get the nose up. And I actually started putting like that, and that's when my putting was best. And then I changed it and it got worse. So I'm going back to that. Game changer. That has made my putting so much better. So I've been relaxing my face and I've been having my finger on the rim, and those two things have been really helpful. And then I guess the only other thing, which is what people have suggested already, is where I finish with my hand, that I'm actually getting it up to the chains. A lot of the time I was kind of trying to flick my wrist and get lots of wrist pop, but from down here, and not getting the full extension with my arm, which is obviously plays a big part in getting the right height to your putt. So what I've tried to do is use my arm and get my hand up to the basket, and then at the end is when I use that wrist flick to get the extra spin to get into the basket. So those things have been really helpful to me. I'm going to try and put them all into practice, just focusing on those 3 things for 5 more putts and see how we go, and then we'll call it a day. All right, not bad. I didn't make all of those, but they were all chain height, and the aim was just a little bit off on some of those. So those tips have been helping me a lot. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I appreciate everyone for sending those tips through. It's helped get my putting back on track, and I'm hoping when I play in the next tournament this year, which is happening in a couple of weeks, that my putting will be better. I just need to practice a lot more at home to get the confidence back, so it just feels more natural. But hopefully you guys enjoyed and took something away from this. I'd love to hear from you now. If you have any other tips that have worked for you, please chuck them down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this sort of a tip video, then let me know down below also what other ones you want to see, and we can maybe make that happen as well. But stay tuned, there's plenty more fun content coming. I hope you've all had a wonderful day. Make sure you make it great for somebody else too, and we'll catch you in the next one.